On 19th December 2024, Pavlos De Grèce, the man Greek monarchists regard as head of the royal house, walked into the Athens registry office and applied for citizenship of the republic that dethroned his family. Is there any legal way left to put crown back on Greek soil? That is the question here, and the answer runs through the most anti-monarchy constitution in Europe. Pavlos had to pledge allegiance to the Republican constitution and renounce every claim against the Greek state. He also had to register a surname, something his family had never carried. He chose De Grèce, meaning of Greece. A law professor sued, arguing the surname itself worked as a forbidden title that brought back royal prestige, and it took until April 2026 for the Council of State to rule that 10 members of the family may lawfully bear their own name. A system that spends 16 months on a surname is engineered to make restitution impossible. Let me be clear about what this video is. It is a thought experiment, and nobody is proposing it, least of anybody in royal family. But walking through the Constitution's locked doors, one by one, is worth doing, because at the end, there is one door the framers never quite willed it shut. Start with how constitutions normally work. Most can be amended into almost anything, given enough votes, of course, because the rules for changing the rules are themselves just rules. Greece refuses that logic. Its constitution contains a list of provisions locked beyond revision forever, and the parliamentary republic sits at the top of that list. Could you get around that list? There is a classic workaround called the double revision. First, you amend the amendment rule itself, then you amend the newly unlocked republic. Mainstream Greek doctrine rejects the move. The power to revise it is itself bound by the locks it is trying to escape. It would also demand supermajorities in 2 parliaments in a row, meaning 2 national elections won on a platform of unlocking the republic. No such platform has ever won a single election. That is the front door. The back door looks more promising because the rest of the world uses it. Republics hosting monarchies below the national level are a real category. Uganda abolished its kingdoms in 1967 and restored them in 1993 as cultural institutions. Buganda first among them. France, the country that invented modern anti-monarchism, has paid 3 customary kings of Wallis and Futuna by statute since 1961. Pragmatic republics keep learning that an inherited institution holds a loyalty no appointed office reproduces, and that it is cheaper to recognize it than to fight it. Could Greece copy that model? Simply no. The constitution prohibits titles of nobility from being conferred on or recognized in Greek citizens, and that prohibition sits on the same unamendable list as republic itself. It attaches to persons whatever the level of government involved. A federal Greece could create a region called, for example, Morea tomorrow. But the moment a Greek citizen holds a hereditary office styled as prince, an entrenched provision is violated. Would a foreign prince solve it? Again, no. A deeper protected principle says all public power in Greece derives from the people, That binds every office on Greek territory, whatever passport its holder carries. Even the softest version, the African model of a recognized king with no governing power, dies on nobility ban, since recognition itself is the prohibited act again. So the ledger reads very badly. A governing national king is banned, and so it is a regional prince at every level a federation could invent. Even a purely ceremonial monarch is banned by name. What remains legal is the private option, a family with history and no standing in public law, which is exactly the position Pavlos De Grèce now occupies. On the face of it, the framers won completely, except that every state lives in two legal universes at once. The first is its own constitution, where everything I have described so far has already died. The second is international law, where states bind each other through treaties that neither party can rewrite alone. The Greek constitution contains a door into that second universe. Its sovereignty clause allows Greece by an absolute majority of parliament to limit the exercise of its own sovereignty when an important national interest requires it. Those same clauses carry Greek membership in the European Union, and they are not on the locked list. The framers sealed what the state is, while the machinery for sharing power with other states stayed open. So what could that door admit? In theory, Greece signs a treaty with a foreign monarchy, and Denmark suggests itself after more than a century and a half of shared dynastic history. The treaty creates a special status territory, a Principality of Morea, framed as a cultural heritage, a living monument to the Byzantine despotate that fell to the Ottomans in 1460. Its ceremonial head is, ex officio, whoever occupies the foreign throne. The design creates no Greek office and confers no title on any Greek citizen. No public power inside Greece passes by inheritance at any point. The crown exists in international law outside both constitutions, attached to the treaty the way shared territories have been for centuries. A structure like that already coexists with a militant republic. The proof is standing in the Pyrenees right now. The president of France is a reigning co-prince of Andorra. I made a video earlier about the fact that the president of France is a reigning co-prince of Andorra. French constitutional law has never had anything to say about it because it is not a French office. It reaches the French head of state ex officio through arrangements outside French law that run back to 1278, codified by Andorra's 1993 constitution. A French president swears no oath to Andorra and holds nothing under French law, and he reigns anyways. The republic survives because the crown never enters its legal order. Now, the honest accounting, because the objections may be serious. The sharpest one come from a Greek viewer of the channel, Yaneman6110. In the comments when I first floated this idea chatting with him, Article 28 makes treaties prevail over ordinary Greek laws and over nothing else. The constitution stays the supreme text, so inside Greece, the treaty would rank below the very locks it is trying to root around. A Greek court could void its implementation at home while the treaty kept binding Greece abroad. Lawyers have a name for that collision, the old tension between monism and dualism. What that produces is a constitutional crisis rather than a principality. Some scholars argue the clause do not permit ceding functions over territory at all, since all power rests with the people. The clauses were written for European integration, and the court asked to accept a cultural principality as an important national interest may simply see through the purpose. No clause inside the Constitution can be used to defeat its protected core. The only defense is the technical one, that no entrenched provision is actually touched, since nothing Greek ever becomes hereditary. That question has never been litigated anywhere because nobody has ever tried this design. And Andorra itself is inherited rather than engineered. A court watching someone assemble the same structure from scratch is free to treat the form as a disguise for the purpose. Before I give you the final verdict, a quick word on how this channel runs. This is a monarchist channel, and it makes that case openly. It also runs on its own, with no sponsors and no advertisers deciding what gets said, which is the whole point of doing it this way. The argument here is that monarchy has been a serious source of stability and legitimacy, and that losing it has usually cost more than people expected. If you think that perspective is worth defending, the simplest way to help is to subscribe on YouTube, so the argument reaches more people who are open to it. If you want to back it directly, YouTube membership and the Patreon community are both open. Whichever way you choose, it counts and it keeps this thing going. Here is the verdict, then, and I want to mark which part is established and which is my reading. It is established that the Greek constitution defeats every direct route absolutely for monarchy. My reading is that the treaty route probably fails too, although by judicial interpretation rather by anything written down. This is the closest thing to an opening the 1975 framers left behind. It would need a parliament willing to spend itself on cultural statecraft and foreign crown willing to lend its name. It would then need the Council of State in a very generous mood for a decade, which returns to the story, to the man it started with. The only monarchy Greek law permits today is the private kind, a family with its history and a name it defended in court for 16 months. In December 2024, the head of that family joined the Republic. And in February 2026, he told Greek television that the return of the monarchy is simply not in question. So, is there any legal way left to put a crown back on Greek soil? There is a single route, the one that sends the crown through international law, so it never touches the Greek legal order. The constitution was built so completely anti-monarchist that the argument for monarchy dies before it starts. And the only door left unlocked leads somewhere no one has ever seriously proposed to go. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.